There are a lot of things that liberals and people on the left choose to ignore when it comes to Donald Trump. To them, he's just a right wing racist, nothing more than that, religious Christian. And they'd be surprised to know that he has a lot of policies that mirror theirs and that really support their values and the populist mindset on those specific issues. So I'm gonna go over a couple of them in this video because, I think it's just crazy that these people that they have a candidate that is talking about a lot of things that they actually support, but because he is a right wing person, he's automatically a racist, and they can't agree with any issues he talks about, even if it's what they've been supporting for a long time. So the first thing is infrastructure. Liberals don't talk about this much, but Donald Trump has said that he wants to invest over $1 billion in infrastructure jobs in the country. That would create over 6 million jobs in the country. Hillary Clinton only wanted to invest half of that, so that's twice the amount of jobs that Hillary Clinton would have brought to the country. Now, this is a big thing because not only is he bringing jobs to the country, but at the same time, there's a crumbling infrastructure problem that will be fixed. So he's killing two birds with one stone right there. And Trump, he's made comments that people say, well, he's a racist, he's that. Well, when he won, the first thing he clarified was that he wants to be a president for everybody, every American. And I think that was very genuine. That was a very genuine comment. You could tell that he meant that. The fact that he wanted to clarify that right away was something that really it impressed me, and I think it impressed a lot of people. So yeah, that was something that I think that liberals should pay more attention to. The fact that he said he wants to be a president for everybody, and obviously time will tell, but I think that he will go in that direction. Another liberal value that he has is on healthcare. Obamacare, it helps people at the bottom of the barrel, but it leaves a lot of people in the middle in even more trouble than they ever were in before. So I think that Trump will fix that. He wants to bring a real universal healthcare to all. And I think that having private healthcare is a lot more beneficial because for that reason, when you have private healthcare, the government's not in control of the healthcare. So they can't put these huge prices on top of it because they have a monopoly. No, if there's private companies, there's going to be competition. Oh, Tom over there is charging $300 a month. Sally's charging $225. I'm going to go to Sally. Oh, Tom's like, okay, maybe I should lower my price. So this competition aspect, this competition economy in terms of healthcare could be very beneficial to a lot of people who are unfortunate, who aren't privileged enough to be able to afford this Obamacare. Or not even Obamacare in general, but any healthcare that's been provided. Because when Obamacare jacks up their prices, you're in trouble. So, especially for the middle class. Another thing that he's spoken about is a secure border, which he gets a lot of trouble for that. But the fact of the matter is, he wants to make the country. He wants to fix the country's immigration problem, where there's a lot of illegal immigrants in the country. Over 11 million. That's a lot of people. 11 million people who are taking money from the government. So when he's trying to get rid of them, he's not being racist. He's just being fair that they're illegally immigrated to this country. There's a legal way to come to this country. And look, I don't think he's going to kick out all of them. There are 100% a lot of great illegal immigrants in the country. The Mexican people, they're a nation. They're not all the same. There's some who are good people and some are bad people. I think for the most part, the overwhelming majority of them are good people. However, there are some bad people who come into this illegal immigration process that end up ruining it for the rest of the people. And I think that something will be done to take care of this, as Trump has stated many times before. Another thing that is liberal about Donald Trump is the fact that he wants to bring jobs back to America. And for a Republican candidate, it's quite new because there's a lot of outsourcing being done in this country. People are making a lot more money because they're taking jobs, they're taking their jobs to China, to Mexico, to Europe, to Canada. So what's happening is they're getting their products cheaper and they're making more of a profit because they're outsourcing and it's cheaper labor. So not only does this make them more money, but it also, there's a negative aspect to it. It causes American jobs to be lost. So what Trump wants to do, he wants to bring the factories back to the States. He wants to bring the jobs back to America. He wants the American companies to have American workers. I think that's a good idea. I think that, there's going to be some delay to that. He's not going to be able to do it as fast as he wants to because look, there's economic aspects to it that have to be considered. You can't just bring all the jobs back right away because there could be some repercussions from that. But over time, you could definitely do something about the outsourcing problem. Another thing he'll be doing, he'll be regulating the trade. He'll be putting tariffs on, which will encourage people to hire workers from the United States and also, buy from the United States. So there's more money in the country and less money going to abroad, which will help the economy, and you know what I mean? It will be very beneficial to the United States. And the final thing I want to speak about, which really gets overlooked so much by the left and by the media and by everyone in general, I think, is that Donald Trump is really anti-war. He has spoken about it. When the Iraq War first started, everyone was hesitant to speak out against it. But Trump, when he was on Howard Stern, he hadn't known quite a lot about the Iraq War, so he gave kind of a flippy-floppy answer like, yeah, I think we should be there, I don't know, well, time will tell. But less than a year later, he was one of the first people to say, look, we have to get out of Iraq. It's terrible because it's ruining our economy. It's destabilizing the Middle East, and it's just a quagmire. It's just a quagmire. So he was very vocal about being anti-Iraq. And I think that's the type of leader we need, somebody who's going to speak out against what the majority of people are voting for, even because it's the right thing to do. Trump, he knew it was the right thing to do, was to get out of Iraq, even though it didn't happen. So we have to look at the things he said before he was in office, and he really did prove to be anti-war. Another thing I'd like to speak about is Syria, and this was actually the deciding factor in what made me think, Donald Trump is the better candidate over Hillary Clinton, was his Syria policy. His Syria policy was very persuasive in making me want him to emerge victorious. Because look, you have a lot of factors in Syria. You have the Assad regime, you have the so-called moderate rebels, and then you have ISIS. You have the rebels fighting each other, but the vast majority of the rebels are fighting Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian regime. And you have Russia backing the Syrian regime, and the US was backing the rebels, and they still are. But they say they're backing the rebels to fight ISIS, but that's not really working. Sometimes a little bit here and there it works with the Free Syrian Army and the Turks, but for the most part, they're not really fighting them. They're mostly fighting Assad. So you have the US and Russia arming two different sides of a war. Now that sounds a little bit like Vietnam or Korea. It sounds a bit like proxy wars. And we know proxy wars can lead to something worse, like a world war. So that was Obama's policy, was to back the so-called moderate rebels to fight ISIS and Assad at the same time, whereas Trump had a very different idea on Syria. He wanted to work with Assad just to take out the main enemy right now, which is ISIS. And the very radical rebels. So I think this is a very good, policy by Donald Trump, because for this reason, not only are you going to be actually taking out the people who are the largest threat, not to say that Assad's perfect, the guy has many flaws and he helped create this situation. However, I think ISIS is substantially more dangerous than he is, substantially. So I think that by working with him in Russia, you could take out the bad people first, and at the same time, you could ease the tensions between Russia and the US, which are at an all-time low, I'd have to say. So, look, I know this has been a long video. I'm just going to try to sum it up here. So I'm going to go over it quick. Trump, he wants to bring infrastructure. He wants to build the infrastructure. He wants to take care of everyone, he said. He wants to fix the healthcare system. He wants to secure the borders. He wants to bring back jobs to the United States. He wants to regulate trade. He has been anti-war in Iraq, and now he's proven to be anti-war in Syria. So this is what the left has forgotten about Trump. Try to remember, try to identify with his anti-war, pro-America mindset. We have to come together. So just think about the things I spoke in this video. Coming back to Syria, he wants to work with Russia rather than against them to really remove the main issue from the region. And then they're going to work together to kind of transition Syria into a more democratic, more unified country, or separated into two different countries. But nevertheless, you have to take care of the main enemies there right now. And Trump has said to do that. We'll see what happens. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.